Welcome back to the third and sadly final day of ICE 365 Live, broadcasting from stand S9 110 here at XL London, direct to ice365.com. I'm Katie Goldfinch, your eyes and ears at the show, and we're hoping there aren't too many sore heads after last night's fun and games. It may be the final day of the show, but we still have a full schedule to bring you. Having made our way around North America, Latin America and the UK so far, we're now headed to Europe with a number of industry leading lights joining over the course of the morning. This afternoon, we'll also have some final thoughts from the man in charge of ICE London, event director and eventress, at a time when work is being undertaken to decide on the future location of the event. There's also more from Andy at the eSports Arena and one more edition of the World Series of Politics to bid a fond farewell to a long-serving industry figure. But we start in Germany, Europe's largest country, though one with a very complex relationship with the gambling regulation. Efforts to reform the regulatory framework started as far back as 2012, but it was not until 2020 that a new regulatory model in which online slots and poker are permitted alongside sports betting. That legislation took another year to come into force in July 2021, and it was only in January that the new federal regulator for gambling took full charge of the market. This, of course, has caused significant problems for the country's local operators, though in a market estimated to be worth billions. This new regulatory framework offers some hope for the future. I'm joined by three of the country's leading figures representing the German Sports Betting Association. We have Mathias Dahms, and from the German Online Casino Association, we have Dirk Quermann and Georg Gubo joining me in the studio. Welcome to the three of you. How are you?
Fine.
Good morning.
Good morning. And how's ICE going for you all so far?
Very, very busy.
Yeah? Good.
It's a little bit exhausting.
Yeah, it's as usual, very exhausting. You have one meeting after the other, but it's so good to see old comrades and competitors and people again. So it's super fun.
And how are your feet faring from all of the walking?
Oh, it's, you know.
I think you need good shoes, so.
I would need sneakers, but you can't wear them here. Yeah.
So tell me, we finally got a new regulator in full control of the market after a very gradual process that stretches back to 2020. Does this make you optimistic for the future? From each of you, please.
Yeah, I think first of all, yes, it makes us optimistic, and to be honest, the process went back not to 2020, but I think more than 10 years before we started the discussion, and the discussion for sports betting even started earlier, and I think what we have reached in the maybe last 2, 3, 4, 5 years is that we get rid of the complete prohibition of slot games, for example, and online casino games. So there have been done quite a few big steps in the right direction. But of course, we are not there where we want to be, and we arrived now with the situation that we will have the chance, all the operators, all the suppliers will have chances to participate in the German market, but we are not there where we want to go. But nevertheless, I think the first big steps have been made, and now we have to do the next maybe 2, 3, 4 steps in the right direction.
And from either of you?
Well, I second that.
Okay.
But in between, the process was so long, and since the interstate treaty is in effect and effective, there's a lot going on that has to be made better in the future. So I'm optimistic, but not excessively optimistic. Let's put it this way.
In regards to the time frame, because we've seen it, that we took 10 years, because it's not one entity to talk to, but it's 16 entities, because the responsibility for gambling, even for online gambling, sits in the single Bundesländer, which means you have to talk to 16 Bundesländer, and they have to agree on one contract, one state treaty in this regards. And this makes it complicated. It made it complicated to have this state treaty, but it will make it even complicated to change this state treaty in the right direction.
Okay, so some sensible optimism happening.
Yeah, and from our perspective, the new authority is a really big step forward for Germany. In former times, we had to talk to various regulators in the country who had different duties and responsibilities, and now we have a single entity to talk with. This is a big step forward. On the other hand, they are just setting up, they are starting, they're growing up everything from the scratch. Sometimes there are some cables out of the ceilings and so on. And so they have new people there. They're not standard civil servants, but experienced lawyers, for example, and they have to enter the whole issues, the topics which we are related to, and this is quite difficult. And we have to have some patience with them. And I think this is the most important thing, and it can all be better in the future, and it will be better. We are quite optimistic here, but it will take some time.
So you'll think it will be better than it once was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And
No,
who?
it will be better than it is today.
It is today.
Yes,
Okay. What about what it once was?
It once was forbidden to have online gambling in any form in Germany. Yeah. So and then we had a sportsbook, and then we did fight for iGaming or virtual slot games, whatever the German regulator calls them, and poker games and casino games, which are table games mainly. So yeah, this is starting right now. When the interstate treaty came into effect, the regulator said we need another 1.5 years to be in effect effectively. They had those 1.5 years, but they still will need time to come up to speed. Yeah.
To be honest, I think there have been much more revenues in the grey market before. And we do not have this situation at the moment in the allowed market. So there are less revenues than we had before in the grey market. But nevertheless, I think for most of the suppliers and for any operator, it's even more important to have a legal framework which works. And this was not the case in the past. Regardless that some companies and some operators made a lot of revenues maybe, but now we started with the real legal market, and I think it needs to catch up. It needs to be attractive enough even to compete against the still existing black market now, and that's where we have to work on, that we talk to the regulator, the new entity or the new authority which now arrived for us, and that we have to talk to them to say we need to have an attractive market which is attractive enough to compete against the illegal markets which still exist. That's, I think, our main focus at the moment, to convince them that we need to have these attractiveness for the products. And this is, at the moment, to be honest, they are not as attractive enough. That's what we're working on.
I see. And who do you see leading the way in the early stages of the new state treaty?
Well, let's say the battlefield is very even right now. Of course, the ones who already operated in the gray state and had a chance to begin earlier have a little bit of a head start. Nevertheless, as I said, the battlefield is even now. Everybody has the same terms and conditions that he can do. Still, I would say most in front is the black market, because they have a different offering. Yeah? And if this is still accessible enough for the customers, they will go to it. Yeah?
And we have to regard that we still have a large potential in Germany. From our perspective, the market is, compared to other jurisdictions, is totally underdeveloped. So we're just in the beginning. And the sports betting and the online gaming market are really evolving at the moment. And we have a little drawback due to the regulation, that some of the operators really lost customers to the black market. And this is the biggest challenge for the new authority, to fight the black market. And on the other hand, the operators have a lot of opportunities, because it's an 84 million people country, and we only have a few million punters at the moment, so there's a big potential. We have 45 million football fans in Germany, and only a few of them are already taking sports bets. And so there's a big potential, and I think this will develop in the future. And I think Germany is going to be one of the biggest markets in Europe, of course.
Now, I think maybe to add just one thing, I think if you want to have a good chance, or if you want to use your opportunities, you need to understand the language. I think it's in any market the case. For example, in Spain and Italy. In Spain, you need to understand Spain. In Italy, you need to understand Italian language. And in Germany, it's the same. Because, for example, the regulator and all the regulation is done in Germany or in German only. So I think what all the operators, maybe the upcoming operators, needs to secure is that they understand the language, or that they have some support. For example, within the associations, which are able to understand the language, or with some other supporters, or the best way is to have employees which really understands the language. I think this is necessary, because we have really a lot of special things within the regulation which needs to be understood in the natural language. So translation is not so easy.
It's a good tip for the international market who are looking at Germany as a potential growth prospect for them. So we've got the Sports Betting Association and the Online Casino Association represented here. So can you tell us what each body is doing to support these core verticals?
We both work very closely together. I would say we are sister associations.
Oh,
and
nice.
and we
Sisters and brothers.
yeah.
And LGBTQIA, of course. Yeah, so
All inclusive family.
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Okay. The full rainbow we have. Okay, and so we are closely working together, because we have the same aims. For example, during the negotiations of the state treaty, we were closely working together, and we were doing papers together, meetings with politicians, trying to influence the regulation, the lawmakers, and so on, which was a heavy duty and heavy work. But finally, we succeeded there. All the relevant games of play are now allowed in Germany. And now we are going forward to support the authority in establishing the right knowledge to get the people there, to educate them how the market is working, which are the demands of the operators, where we need to adjust the regulation, and so on. And yeah, it's a close relationship we have.
And also, for example, Dirk is the president of the DOCV, but he is also in the Sportsbook Association. I, for example, represent my company not only in the iGaming, but also in the sports betting online field. So it's, yeah, it's inclusive.
It makes perfect sense to have this deep cooperation, because we have some topics, for example, the quite famous Lugas system, which arrived in Germany, which is for all the companies, for the sports betting companies, for the virtual slot game licensed companies. They all have the same demands to change these systems, or the same problems with the system. And therefore we are fighting together to get good solutions. And nevertheless, in others, for example, Mathias, for the sports betting, it's the biggest problem is maybe the betting program at the moment, which is discussed in Germany. For us, it's the single slot allowances for single games. And therefore, it even makes sense to have this special focus within the one or the other association, even in regards to the resources of the associations. There's one clear focus in regards to the products. For the DOCV, it's virtual slot games and it's online casino games, so poker, not poker, it's roulette, blackjack, and all these other games, and of course slots. And for Mathias, it's sports betting. And all together we are taking care about Lugas and all these other Oasis with these central blocking system. because this is common for us.
And it seems as though the land-based channel is key for both sectors. Is that fair?
No, I think it's not, it was a little key, or it was some example for doing the regulation for the online. But now we have more or less a real change, because we have one competent authority which is only for the online business. And there are completely different rules from for the online business than there are for the offline business. Which means there's much more of a differentiation now. So it's for me, it's not key anymore.
It's different in the sports betting area, because in the sports betting we have operators at the moment in the association are all the bigger retail operators are part of the association, but they all have an online offering, and in the meantime they all have a virtual slots offering. So the interests are in all those areas, and we have the bigger retail operators and all the online operators in the association, and this is quite well balanced. And because the interests are more the same concerning the overall regulation, where the authority is going, what's about the betting program, because this is the same in the retail stores and on the online platforms.
And when it comes to gambling opposition, is it split between states or political lines?
No, not really. Not really. We see some more restrictive positions from the more left-wing political parties, and more liberal tendencies from the right-wing or the liberal parties. But if you have a look at the states in Germany, there's no real differentiation between the political colors. It's more a personal feeling by the responsible people, if they have been affected with gambling addiction, for example, within their families. So and this gives them more impact than the political orientation.
And those who are looking to liberalise the market and those who aren't, do you think a compromise can be reached?
Well, the compromise has been reached due to the signing of the treaty. And now, of course, you have to bring all of those people together almost all the time, because they are now in the administration board of the regulator. So they are still keep being involved, and there's still negotiation needed. Yeah? But you also have on the left side of the political spectrum, you have progressive people as well. If you have some more, let's say, conservative people on the right side, and vice versa. So it cannot be pinned down to the political orientation. Yeah, as you said correctly.
Fantastic. That's all we have time for, unfortunately. But thank you for coming to see us in our ICE 365 live studio. Enjoy the rest of ICE, the last day.
So we do.
Thank you.
Yes. Lovely to meet you all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.
So up next we have the Executive Spotlight. I'm joined by Pontus Lindvall from Betsson in the studio. Stay tuned.